Hello everybody, once again, I'm Liam Crafton Jr., aka Zorval Less Than Guru. We have Mars, the Video Cat here, and today I want to have kind of another in-between session, so in between session 22 and 23, which we played yesterday, and hopefully I'll be able to post that this week. But it also kind of a what's been the change and a change of direction for the Palladium game that I had sent out an email to my group, and either there were no detractors, and most of the people seemed enthusiastic about it. So I also wanted to kind of give a year update. We've been playing this for a little over a year now, a year and a few months for actually talking about it before the game started and that. So I thought that this would be a good video for an update of Palladium. So the first thing will be the change of direction in Palladium. Yesterday in session 23, we finished the current plot hook, and that's kind of where I decided to do a little course correction. I guess you could call it that. I highly advise normally not to do this. And there's lots of content creators out there that will tell you the same thing. Don't do this. But again, when you're looking at your three keys, I was looking at my players on this, and I was looking at the purpose. And because of those two things, I'm deciding to do this. I want to call it a course correction. If you watched the video I did recently, it was the concept of a campaign setting, where the campaign isn't a certain group of characters going through a plot arc, where the campaign itself is the setting, and you have characters that live and die in that setting, and the setting continues on, whether there's new players that come in, old players that leave, new characters die, or sorry, old characters die, new characters come in, people doing multiple things. That was one that I said was brought up by the Questing Beast, talking about original AD&D first edition, and that I had experienced in the Purdue Fantasy Club. And the more I started thinking about it, the more I'm like, that is really an old school feel that I want. And one of the things for my purpose, my setting of the game, is to have it with that old school feel. And also, I know I have various players that like playing multiple characters. And I also wanted to give the players a chance to choose what they're going to do and contribute to what they're going to do. So I kind of had a thought about, once they're out, they had went to the cairn of the Winter King, and we're doing basically a deep dungeon delve, and far away from their hometown, or their home base, whatever you want to call that. And when they got back, however they decided to get back, that's when I would start it. So I'm making Fallcrest kind of the center, which it is if you know D&D 4th edition setting, or you watched my playthrough videos or any of my discussion. The Nentir Vale, Fallcrest is right in the middle. The Vale is outside of it, with lots of interesting locations and towns and ruins and features and lots of cool things like that. So what I am doing is, Fallcrest is the center of the setting. The characters are not the center of the setting, and a lot of my players like playing other characters. In Torg, our campaign that lasted a few years with Torg Eternity, it was a original Torg, and then it switched over to Torg Eternity. They would intentionally use the martyr card because they just wanted to play something new. And so when they would get a martyr card, if they didn't want to die, if a specific person, another person quite often would trade for that so that they could get their character killed off and start a new character. So I came up with a few supplemental rules on how multiple characters would work. Basically, I wanted to give people a few character choices. I didn't want them to go overboard and make 100 characters, and I wanted them to use what they actually made. So there's some rules that I introduced with a limit of characters that could expand as you gain level, and all your characters would contribute to that maximum. And that would allow them to have the freedom to choose to play different characters on different adventure hooks, as well as making sure that they play those characters. And what I mean by that is one of the purposes of old school that I wanted to do, and I've talked about this since the beginning of the Palladium campaign, that I want them to stick with their stats. They roll their stats down the line and they stick with it. And if you open it up to, you can make as many characters as you want, the tendency would be to make a ton of characters until you get one that you rolled super excellent stats, and that becomes your main character. So it was kind of a middle ground of allowing multiple characters, but also work it with those characters that you got. And if you get a character that you absolutely hate, take them on one adventure and get them killed off and free up that character slot. So it's kind of just like that. Like, at least play what you're doing, because again, the setting is the city, the town. It's kind of the border, in my opinion, between a large town and a small city. But the setting is Fallcrest and the Nentir Vale and the world beyond that, not the characters. And a lot of people, especially new school mentality, will be really against that. But it fits this purpose, as the players have more characters. If their character dies, they at least the next character is going to be in that same town as a hub, and they will know all of that local knowledge. So it's not like they have to learn something, or if you have a group of adventurers that is going off and they might start in this town and then they go way off to a different country or different territory and go there, you kind of have to learn things as you move on. With it being central in Fallcrest, everybody can know what's going on in Fallcrest, and they can go, if they want to go political, they can go political. If they want to become important in a guild or organization, they can. And there's a lot of characters that have behind the scenes goals, that kind of progress might um, encourage and allow them. Also, there's people that have certain goals, things that quests that they want to accomplish, and now those characters can kind of just put it out there. Hey, they can bribe, hey, do this and I'll give you money. Hey, do this, we're friends. Hey, do this and I'll give you this magical item, or etc. But the the players can, through their characters, have their characters go for goals. And this also is something that in Palladium that I've mentioned at the beginning of this, when you switch occupations, that you have to earn a certain amount of experience before you obtain that new occupation. It's not like modern D&D, where when you hit the next level 4, you decide that you want to be something else. I'm wizard now, I hit level 4, now I'm going to choose to be a fighter and start, have first of all, three levels of wizard, one level of fighter. It's not like that. There's no maximum 20. It's just you spend time though learning. So in that, I'm going to take in-game time. That character is going to have to go away. It might be in the same town, but they're not going to adventure for a certain amount of time. And that's where I'm going really old school. And I have mentioned before that I don't necessarily agree with it during adventures as the gold per XP, but for downtime, um, also have different things influence you. I play Earth Dawn. Earth Dawn has a lot of downtime and a lot of training costs uh, money. So I am having a cost. Basically, if a character is not playing, they're assumed to be doing something that gives them the normal ability to keep their place of shelter and their food. Make basic needs. Their basic needs are met by what they're doing. Um, Certain or optional occupations that are usually not really um, they don't really grab people. People don't want to play a commoner. They don't necessarily want to play a merchant. But if you do that, those I'm going to give them a little, you can make some money while you're doing that, because what you're doing is a merchant, or even like a peasant is out farming the land, and they could, if they do a good job, and basically whatever their thing that they're doing, they do it good enough that they can keep a little and progress themselves. But for those who go out to do an occupation, they're going to have an equal amount of money as the experience they need, so that they can pay that, whatever. It can be paying for a mentor, it can be paying for supplies, it can be paying for whatever is needed to learn that occupation, armor, weapons, etc. But basically, what they're going to do is 25 solidi per day. They're going to get 25 experience. So that is going to have a direct. I don't have gold pieces or what, but the monetary value of the coins in my system, the solidus, 25 solidi are going to be 25 experience per day. And then when they obtain that experience needed, then they can get to that new occupation. Also, if somebody wants to play a new character and their old character has a bunch of gold, they can do that as well, and they can learn experience while sitting in town. Sitting in town, they're also studying their current occupation. They're not switching, but it does mean that at some point their gold, their solidi, their money is going to run out. So they're going to have to adventure. So one of the things is make a character that has a reason to adventure. It might just be because I want to make some money, so I don't have to do a menial job to pay. I have money that I can pay for this and study the thing that I want to study. So I'm bringing a few things like that into it, allowing people to do different characters, different character classes, different species, and things like that to make it more varied. Plus, if a character dies, they have multiple characters to bring in. I'm not going to make people make all the characters that they're allowed. If they want to, they can. If they just want to focus on one character, they can. I do advise they have a backup character, but that is the experience that I had back old school with that AQ, where the first year I played one character. My character lived the entire school year, went home for the summer, came back, played a couple times, and then I ended up dying. And after that, then I made a bunch of characters. Few of them died, few of them I didn't necessarily like, so I'd make a couple of characters, and then that's when I actually shifted to become a DM in the fantasy club. But if people want to do it that way, if they want to focus on one character, they can. If they want to do a couple of characters, they can. And people seem really excited about having that possibility. Plus, if you have a character that really doesn't want to do something, but the rest of the group's doing something, you can play a different character that has different goals, different aspirations, things like that. So that's kind of a setting that I'm like, man, and I think about it. And seriously, when I was 18, 19, playing my home game, our first AQ that I brought back, I started the game like that. And then I got distracted. I got distracted in the kind of overarching plot with the same characters to that ended up in a save the world situation. But it had started off. There was a town that I had, and that was the town that was going to be the thing. And I started introducing stuff and the tavern and the locals and stuff. And then I just went sideways and got diverted for, let's see, for 30 years. So I decided to go back on that. So that's something that I'm actually really excited for. Within the Foundry, I have a page that's going to be like a bulletin board on the tavern, or like the side of the tavern, where uh, different people can put their stuff, their like quests and things. And that's something that's also going to be introduced as Fallcrest is rebuilding itself after the last major like destruction of the area. They're building and rebuilding. And it's one of the things one of the characters says, like, oh, we're going to be like an adventurers guild. That's kind of like cool. I'm like, well, there's not really an adventure guild now, but in one of my previous games set in the same world, in the same setting, that I've talked about in 4th edition D&D, that I had a couple of groups. And when I was showing the last video where I showed my uh, little calendar thing, Curious Company, they were attempting to make kind of an adventuring guild, adventuring group, of multiple groups, multiple people, etc. And the NPC leader of that, who kind of was the out of the in character reason why everybody's showing up at Fallcrest, that they all knew him as a contact. He's still an NPC, and the group has met him, and he has some missions, and he has has a chance of, if they work with him, they can build up an adventurers guild, and maybe they'll take over the adventurers guild doing whatever things. But it kind of opens up the whole world to those characters, and it's not just I have one character that I start at a low level and bring them up to super godhood, or heroic levels, or I start heroic and then I get super heroic depending on the edition of D&D. But it's a world that's going to have lots of variation on levels and species and everything out there. So there might be one night where a group goes and they have a couple of people that are like 4th level and a couple of people that are 1st level. So they're going to have to. Another thing is using this, and not just, oh, here's some stats and we're all at the same level. I'm looking forward to that aspect of it as well. And I just had something on the tip of my tongue and forgot, since I didn't make notes today. It might come back, it might not. But I do want to make another video of the rules and how my pre-game rules, which ones worked, which ones didn't, which ones I modified in my rewrite of Palladium. And I want to kind of go through that to maybe inspire you for any game, whether it's a Palladium 1st edition or anything else. And it's kind of some of the reasons why I'm doing that. The other thing is, unfortunately, one of our players has a lot more real life. I don't want to say it's not personal, professional commitments. That's a appropriate word. She has more real life commitments that is causing her Sundays to be a little more stressed. So she is bowing out of the game, which normally would just be, okay, you're out. But with this system, it makes sense. The character is still out there doing things. The character just got a ton. The group found a ton. They found a treasure hold. Basically, she will have enough money that she can do that. I'm out training, and if she decides, if real life calms down and she has less commitments and wants to come game, or just every once in a while, if you want to come game, she will still be has enough money to be paying for that experience earned. That's man, I lost it again. It was right there. Talking about the come. Oh, people can come in and out, and that includes characters too. One of the other problems that is often with games is if people miss, if they call up and, sorry, I have this problem, I can't show up. Usually I have it where like maybe 2, possibly 3 people, if they can't come, then I might continue and I just have their character sick or whatever. Bowers, he was gone a few weeks. Decimus was sick up until, actually, I was really happy yesterday's game. Everybody was there, so we were able to give Bodil, Jenny a send off. But if somebody misses and they can't make it, I can put that adventure on hold and not cancel. If, say, 2 or 3 people cancel, I could not cancel that night. I could put that current adventure on hold, and everybody grabs a new character or whatever, and I throw in a quick hook that's only going to make me take a session, a short, small thing, maybe even just local in Fallcrest that they can do. We can do that, and then once everybody is back, we go on to that, and there will be concurrent things happening with different characters. That was the point that I kept forgetting, but that is a cool thing. It means I don't have to necessarily cancel every few Sundays. I was looking back. It looks like if there's 52 weeks in a year, that's 26 bi-weeklies, and we're probably at around 19 or 20. So we missed like 6 weeks, and a couple were because of me, but I could have had more if I wasn't canceling because X many players didn't show up. So that means more gaming for us. So that's kind of my keep this a little shorter than my other ones, but that's kind of my goal for this setting is to use that old school. The campaign is the setting, and open that up for a new way of playing. Again, a little course adjustment due to the three keys, due to my setting, and I uh, went through the players like, hey, if people really don't want to do this, I won't do it. But here's some cool things that I think, and some benefits that I think will bring to the game. And I've already had a lot of people already make second and third characters and getting ready for the next session. So once again, I'm Lee McCrafton Jr., aka Zorval Chan, Less Than Guru, and until next time, I will catch you later.